What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kevoo Bandzz Hoops podcast, man. Today, we got a great episode lined up, man. I first want to just say this is episode 700, man. I appreciate all the support, all the love, all the positive feedback, all the negative feedback, everything in between, man. I appreciate anybody that's took any time out of their day to come and rock with me and support me. Y'all inspire me and motivate me more than y'all ever know. But with that being said, I have a special guest today, man. Part of Team NBA. Shout out to Nuts and Bolts Sports Media. As always, it's nothing but love. They've been rocking for forever, too. I got my guy, Melo. First, got to ask him, how you doing, man? And please just introduce yourself to the people.
Man, no doubt, Kevoo. First and foremost, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the Kevoo Bandzz Hoop Podcast. Big salute, man. Big congrats to episode number 700, man. It feels good to be a part of it, man. My name, like you said, my name is Melo Williams. I'm from Wisconsin. Met with Team NBS Media. You know, I cover the Bucks, the Warriors, the Badgers. I just cover basketball. I cover sports. You know, mainly basketball. The Steelers for NFL. Work with U.S. Elite Basketball as a talent scout, and also, man, rocking with Rich Kid Clothing, man. Shout out to my man Mark Wilson, man, over at Rich Kid Clothing for the clothes, man. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my guy, Mark Wilson, man. We done got into a whole bunch of heated debates over some hoop discourse, but that's my guy nonetheless out of NY. But I got to ask you about US Elite Basketball, man, for sure. Just ask you everything about it. What's it about? You know, your role with it. You kind of just touched on it a little bit, but I'd like you to go a little bit more in depth on it and just everything you guys are doing over there because I love it. I love supporting it. And just, you know, tell the people about US Elite Basketball, man, please.
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, thank you for all your continued support. No doubt about it. US Elite Basketball is like a resource center. You know, it was founded by former players, college players, NBA players who basically know the landscape when it comes to recruiting opportunities, how to make preps more visible, you know, to college coaches, and especially with NIL right now, how to build their own brand to be able to capitalize on it at some point in their career, in their future. You know, everyone else been capitalizing, you know, off the prospects forever, you know, and prospects never really, you know, had the opportunity to collect on their own hard work, you know, blood, sweat, and tears. So at US Elite Basketball, we're a resource center. You know, we try to identify the best place, the best opportunities for prep boys and girls that's looking to play on the college level. You know, we feel that there's a level for everyone. If you want to commit, everyone, you know, can't play college basketball. But we feel that we can identify with most players, you know, all players that want to go on to the next level and play. Specifically, what I do, you know, like I said, I'm a regional scout for the Midwest. Try to identify talent, you know, propose them ways to build their social media, explain to them NIL. We try to make sure that they're qualified to play on the next level in college. And a lot of players don't understand that part of it, that you actually have to qualify to play NCAA basketball, you know. So we just try to be as much as an information center, you know, resource center for prospect boys and girls looking to play college basketball.
No, I appreciate that for sure. Y'all do a great job. I love tapping in, just seeing all the talent across the country. So definitely, you know, keep doing your thing with that. And it's nothing but love this way, of course. But
Man,
that leads me to a guy. Yeah, of course. That leads me to a guy that you've interviewed. I watched a few months back on the YouTube channel. I'm gonna definitely link the YouTube channel for y'all in the description and definitely the Twitter too as well. Jaeden Mustaf, highly touted player in the country, out there on the East Coast. Talk to me about him. You know, his recruitment's down to 5 schools. You can touch on that too. Just made a move for high school too. So just enlighten the people on Jaeden Mustaf and the player that he is. And you know, most people listen to this. Y'all definitely going. If y'all don't know about him now, y'all definitely gonna know about him very soon in the near future. So just tell the people about Jaeden Mustaf, man, please.
yes, sir, man. Jaeden Mustaf, class of 2024. I feel is the best player in the class of 2024. No disrespect to all the other great players in the class of 2024. I like Jaeden Mustaf. He's a combo guard, point guard, shooting guard. He can play the wing. He's 6'6", very physical. You know, he can definitely create his own shot, get to the rim. But I think a lot of people underestimate, you know, besides his defense, his playmaking ability. He's one of those players that loves getting his own shot, but he loves getting his players involved and creating for his teammates just as much as he do, as just as much as he loves scoring. Just being able to watch him up close for the past couple years, man, it's been a blessing just to being able to see his growth, from where he was when I first, found out about him to where he's at now. And at that time, right when I got up with him, he ended up going to Carmel Christian, excuse me, in North Carolina to play his high school basketball. And now he's transferring, got a scholarship to Overtime Elite down in Atlanta. So I feel that is definitely going to be huge for him as well to continue helping with his growth of his game. We see what OTE has been able to do for the Thompson twins, and they stacked up this year as well. Jackie Howard is down there at Overtime Elite as well. So just being able to watch how Overtime Elite has been able to help the growth of players, I definitely like it for Jaeden and going forward.
Yeah, man, for sure. And honestly, I haven't even on this podcast, I really haven't even given Overtime Elite enough credit for what they've been building and doing. It's a lot of great resources. I've seen the facilities down there in the A. I haven't been there personally, but I've seen like they've invested a lot into that. They got a lot of former NBA personnel working with them kids down there. So I'm rooting for it. And I think, like you said, with Jaeden going down there, they already got a whole bunch of other talent. I'm definitely going to be intrigued. I'm definitely going to, watch out for him specifically, but all the rest of the talent that they put out next year. But getting to my next question, this is the one I really, really want to ask you more than any of them. Like as you mentioned earlier, you're from the state of Wisconsin. Going into this college basketball season, y'all got two teams that I believe should both be ranked within the top 20. Marquette, coming off a hell of a year with Shaka Smart. They swept the Big East last year by winning the Big East regular season title, winning the Big East tournament at MSG. Shaka, to me, a lot of people kind of talk crazy about Shaka. I don't like that, just because I feel like he's always been one of the more true guys in the game. He's had a lot of success. People like to knock him for the Texas stint, but to me, he's one of them guys where he's better off at like a more, I don't want to say low key, but just at like a lesser expectations type school like Marquette compared to Texas. I think Texas, they got a little bit too crazy expectations. And I just think, Marquette to me is a hell of a program, is one of one. And I just want to ask you, like, how do you, people in the state, how do y'all feel about the program that is Marquette?
Depending on who you talk to, right? Like this is Wisconsin, so everything is so Badger crazy in Wisconsin, and I get it. It's good. It's appropriate, right? But Marquette get overlooked a lot as well, And if you look at the history of Marquette basketball, it's probably greater than Wisconsin Badgers basketball, right? You talk about the players that went to the NBA, from Marquette. Most of them has had longer NBA careers than players that, go to Wisconsin, with the exception of like Michael Finley, Devin Harris, going back to Wesley Matthews seniors, and a few other players as well. Right now, you got like Frank the Tank, Frank Kaminsky. He's been having a decent NBA career. He's been able to stay in the league, no doubt about it. But if you just look at like Marquette basketball, Marquette is just as much of a staple when it comes to college basketball in Wisconsin, just as much as the Badgers is. Now, they Wisconsin and Marquette play each other again. So that interstate rival is starting to pick back up. But getting to like Shaka, Coach Shaka, I love it for him. Like you said, the expectations at Texas, we get it, but sometimes they can seem like they're a little crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Marquette, so it's a legendary school. The expectations and everything is there as well. But the leeway I would use probably at Marquette, Shaka probably getting a little bit more leeway at Texas than he did at Texas. Probably getting his way more a little bit at Marquette than he did at Texas. So, and for me, it's showing. Everything about Marquette right now is the blueprint of Shaka Smart. So. You had the Tyler Kolek, the Big East Player of the Year, coming in, or going into next year. He's been recruiting, knocking out the recruits as well. So for me, it's great. Shaka's being Shaka. Personally, I feel he should have been at Wisconsin. He shouldn't have never had to go to Texas, right? I feel after VCU, after the stint with Bo Ryan at Wisconsin, that definitely should have been Shaka Smart, you know. But now, from a competitive standpoint, being from Wisconsin, understanding Marquette history and understanding the Badgers history, I love it for the state. You know, he's putting the pressure on Wisconsin as well to get the right recruits. You know, so Wisconsin recruit how they recruit, Marquette recruit how they recruit. Both schools is prestigious programs when it comes to the academic side of things. So who can go to Wisconsin can go to Marquette and vice versa. You know, so it's for me, it's just all about the coach, the talent, how he's recruiting, and the players that they're gonna be able to get. For me right now, I feel like Shaka Smart is winning that.
Man, completely agree. And I can't wait to watch them this year. I think they should be looked at as the favorites going into the Big East this year. I mean, like you said, they bring back the Big East Player of the Year, Tyler Kolek, Cam Jones, one of the best shooters in the country. Also, Iguodala is definitely an NBA player to me. He probably could have went to the NBA draft this year and stayed in. They got a couple other guys, David Joplin, Chase Ross. They're going to be really, really good. So I'm looking forward to that. And real quick, too, shout to D Wade. He is the first
Oh,
Marquette player, of course, going into the Hall of Fame today alongside Dirk, Tony Parker, Pau Gasol, amongst others. Also gave a shout to Jimmy Butler, too. He said he will one day be in the Hall, too. So definitely
no
salute
doubt.
to D Wade. And yeah, man, shout out to Marquette for sure. I love everything about Marquette. The jersey colors is crazy. I love like they got it right. So
They
at least
definitely do.
yeah,
Yeah,
man, they
like you
got it.
said, shout out D Wade, man. I mean,
Mhm.
it's surprising he's the first Marquette player to go into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yep.
But hey, I love it for him, man. Like you said, he came to Marquette as a Prop 48. You know, he was academically ineligible for his first year. Tom Crean and Marquette said, "Hey, we like you. We believe in you. We're gonna give you the chance." And D Wade didn't let them down, nor himself or his family down, man. And almost 20 years later, man, he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. So no doubt about it, man. He's definitely deserving of that honor.
For sure, man. Also, salute to my guy Dwayne Stevens. He was the assistant coach there for a minute, a long-time assistant coach with my Spartans and Tom Izzo, and he's now the head coach at Western Michigan. So we definitely rooting for him. But that leads me to the Badgers, man. You kind of touched on it with the recruitment and things like that. We'll get into that for sure. But to me, when it comes to them, personally, I love playing them. I love when we play them because even though I don't agree with their play style, it's slow as hell, but it's methodical. You know, they don't really recruit big time athletes like that, let's be honest, but they really test your discipline, right? And Greg Gard, he hasn't really had that major tournament success, but they've been very consistent in the Big Ten. They finished like top half of the Big Ten damn near every season. And
Yep.
so to me, just talk about the Badgers a little bit. Again, kind of like Marquette, they're not going to be ranked as high as Marquette going into the season, but as we mentioned before we got on here, I was saying like they should be somewhere, you know, in around third to maybe even fifth place in the Big Ten. You know, you got Chucky Hepburn coming back, you got Tyler Wall healthy, Stephen Krause a good big, a couple other guys. I like AJ Storr coming from St. John's. I think he gives them a completely different look and aspect to the team. So just go a little more in depth with the Badgers compared to Marquette.
Man, Bucky, you know, like I'm gonna start off like with the recruits. You know, I would say that Wisconsin goes after those recruits, but the history, the style of play, the fit, it doesn't necessarily, appeal to the high level recruits, to your 4-star recruits, your 5-star recruits. Because if you look at, in the past 5 years, I'll just say the past 5 years, from Tyrese Halliburton, man, to Tyler Hero, to
Mhm.
Jalen Johnson, man, Wisconsin has missed, on all these players. And I know they reached out, they recruited, offered, and all that, but they either went to Marquette or they left the state. And that's always been the case for Wisconsin. My only thing with the Badgers is going back, I can go back to like 88, 89, 90, right? Right
Mhm.
before Michael Finley and Tracy Webster and Stu Jackson and all those guys came. Most of the in-state players left state back then as well. They was recruited or was asked to come on as like walk-ons, and stuff like that. And man, it's like I definitely love the Badgers. I support the Badgers, but to get those 4-star, 5-star recruits from this state to stay in state, I mean, I definitely feel that they're gonna have to change their style of play. Like you said, the postseason success. That means a lot. It's cool winning Big Ten tournaments. It's cool being co-conference champions and all that. No doubt about it. But being a Badger fan, I want to see more success in the postseason in March, and that's something that I did like about Bo Ryan. The wins was consistent in a regular season and also in a tournament. So Greg Gar, he's a solid coach. Um, and he's definitely recruit the personnel for his system and stuff like that, and that's great and that's cool. I just feel to turn the page a little bit for more success in the postseason. We got to figure out a way to get those 4-star, 5-star recruits, to stay in state, and go to Madison, from, like I said, from Kevon Looney, Jordan Poole. And a lot of these guys are NBA champions right now, all stars, so man, Wisconsin is definitely a hotbed state when it comes to recruiting, college recruiting. It's definitely a state where basketball players are definitely born. We love the ball here. This is what we do here, So this season, though, I feel the Badgers, is going to take a step forward. Like we talked about prior to the show starting, we could see them falling in the 3rd to 5th range in the Big Ten, definitely behind Michigan State and Purdue. And one thing about the Big Ten, you just never know, who will surprise you.
Yep.
Penn State was on the come up as well. Now that Coach Shrewsbury went to Notre Dame, he kind of left it somewhat still intact, so it's for that coach to keep it there and elevate it, But as I always say, the Big Ten is probably the best conference when it comes to basketball and college basketball. And Wisconsin definitely have their hands full, but the growth from last year, I believe, will help them, counter sieging. I believe he will be a big factor as well. Been loving his off-season workout program and everything. So overall, the Badgers definitely been committed to getting better. Got some good recruits coming in, at least the commitments for so far to come in. So, it's still go Badgers, no doubt about it.
Yeah, man. They got another freshman too, goes by the name of Gus Yaudon, I believe is how you pronounce his name. They call him the Gus Bus, and he is the prototypical Wisconsin Badger. He's not super athletic. He's not gonna kill you with his athleticism, but when it comes to like post moves, like he's crazy. They call him Baby Joker. I'm not gonna go that far, but
Right.
like, he got the goods, man. He got that competitive edge. So I'm definitely for sure excited to watch him. But you kind of touched on it a little bit, but with my next question, I gotta ask you about the influx of Wisconsin talent to the league, man. Because when I look at y'all, like, you have, when it comes to hotbeds, of course, you got the DMV, you got Cali, you got Texas, you got Jersey, whatever, right? But when I look at the more underrated hoop states, I look at y'all, I look at Minnesota, and I look at Arkansas. Recently, like y'all three have been putting out a lot of talent. And as you mentioned, going back to Kevon Looney, who was special coming out of high school, had a great high school career, of course, did things out here at UCLA. Tyler Hero actually was committed to Wisconsin a little bit before he decommitted, went to Kentucky. Jordan Poole went to Michigan, played for Coach Beeline. And Jalen Johnson, he had a little interesting stint at Duke, but just talk to me about the growth. And even our guy, man, Tyrese Hunter, I'm wishing him the best at Texas.
Right.
I hope he goes crazy for the Longhorns this year. He deserves it. So I'm hoping he has a big-time junior season. He transferred over last year from Iowa State. But just talk to me about the growth from the state, man, and just the overall talent that the state of Wisconsin produces.
Man, let's start with Brandon Podolewski, man. I mean, just drafted 17th, I believe it was, by Golden State. Ended up going to Illinois, committed to Illinois, transferred, went out to Santa Clara. Got out there, made the best of his opportunity, became a first-round draft pick. I mean, I'm a fan of him and in this game, but that surprised me, right? Yeah. But I got it. I understood it. Golden State, Santa Clara right there. So they was able to watch him up close and personal and be able to see actually, what he brings and how he could fit with that Golden State Warrior system. Pat Baldwin, he was another highly touted recruited player from Milwaukee, from Wisconsin. Pretty much school wanted him. Everyone thought that he was going to go to Duke or go to Northwestern, where his dad went and starred at as well. And coached by Chris Collins.
Yep.
But he ended up staying in Milwaukee. He went to University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, where his dad coached at. And I got it. I like to move to bring exposure, and notoriety to UWM. And for his dad, that exposure really wasn't there since Bruce Pearl left and went to Tennessee. So Pat Baldwin, he got traded now to the Washington Wizards, right? But you know, let me see. We can go back to like downtown Freddie Brown in the 70s, right?
Mm.
Went to Marquette. Went to Milwaukee. Went to the University of Iowa. And you talk about one of the best shooters to ever come out of the Wisconsin and into the NBA. Downtown Freddie Brown was definitely one of them. So then we could go to Terry Porter. Uh, Became an Olympic gold medalist, coached by Bobby Knight. Said that he wished he could have a team full of players like Terry Porter. He went to a small school, UW Stevens Point, Division III, made it to the league. Probably would have a ring right now if they didn't see Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in the finals, right? So then you have players like Latrell Sprewell, a guy from my hometown in the 80s. His name was Tony Carr. Went to UW Platteville, played for Bo Ryan, ended up getting drafted by the Bucks. Didn't work out, but that was around late 80s, and just in the 90s, it's been a long list of players, man, from the state of Wisconsin, to make it to the NBA.
Yeah, man, for sure. Salute. I'm a big supporter. I'm a Heat fan, so I've been rocking with T Hero. Honestly, shoot, Kentucky ain't really been the same since T Hero left, man. They haven't had a deep tournament run since T Hero left. Michigan really ain't been doing nothing against Jawan. I support Jawan. He gotta get right when it comes to certain
Yep.
recruits. But
Yep.
yeah, man, definitely shout out to Wisconsin. Like I said, underrated hoop state alongside Minnesota and Arkansas.
Oh,
And
man. And Detroit. Detroit. If people look at the list of players from Detroit, man, you
mhm,
got so many NBA Hall of Famers, man, All Stars, champions, you name it. You
yep,
know, I I just feel like the Midwest, bro. Man, we produce talent here. Like you said, going all the way down to Arkansas, that's the Midwest to me. It's a little bit south, but it's the Midwest. St. Louis. You look at Bradley Beal, Darius Miles, Larry Hughes, Jason Tatum. Chicago speaks for itself. We know Chicago, right?
yep.
And there's so many players that don't get to the league for whatever reason, just fit, opportunity, and everything. It all just don't go right. So I feel like the Midwest produced basketball players, man, and it's gonna continue. The tradition gonna continue, and man, I love it. For the end of the day, I love it for Wisconsin, man. Now we are so underrated when it comes to basketball talent, but with guys like you that understand, do your homework, do the history, and know the history of basketball, I appreciate hearing that from you and other people when I talk about, or when we talk about basketball, college basketball, and stuff like that, bro. Is because we very, very, very underrated and underappreciated. So it's definitely much respect and love for that.
Nah, for sure, always, man. Like you said with Michigan, like that's one thing I take pride about in being a Michigan State fan is like even the dudes, like I always keep tabs on like the family, the EYBL program from Detroit that
Yeah.
is the only one out there. Michigan, man, like you said, C Webb, Jalen Rose, like the list goes on. I'm not even gonna go down the entire list, but like they just got so many who I can go to Flint, I can go to Saginaw, Jay Rich, Draymond, like so much talent. It's ridiculous. Mateen Cleaves, like
So much.
it's ridiculous. So I just had to get a big salute to the mitten real quick too. But to
And
my next
and
question,
just real
mhm,
And real
yeah,
quick,
yeah,
if Wisconsin could get, that's what I love about is on Michigan State, man, is that
mhm,
it really has to be something for them to lead a state to even go to Michigan. You
yep,
from Michigan, most time, 9 times, 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, you want to be a Sparty. You want to be a Spartan, So,
yep.
um, Tom Izzo is definitely one of my favorite coaches of all time. I just love how he identifies talent, man, and he wins every time, when it comes to recruiting from his home state.
Yeah, man. I always say the most times you look historically, like the last national championship we won it, we had a point guard from Flint on Mateen, right? When we had
Yep.
success, Cassius Winston from Detroit, Denzel
Yep.
Valentine from Lansing. Like you gotta recruit on a broad scale when you're a program like that, but you also got to get that homegrown talent too, because it's nothing like that. It's a different type of pride when they got that Spartans across their
Yep.
chest, even the Wolverines logo. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you have to do. I always say that. So That's the any product. That's the dupe. For Carolina, you got to get some of them North Carolina products, right? You ain't
Yes,
always got to go
yes,
hit the home runs. Like you get some of them guys to stay in. It's a different type of pride. They want to play for you. They're gonna commit every single time. So
yep.
that's like you said. That's one thing I really appreciate with Izzo. But man, last two questions before we get up out of here. I got to ask you about the state of the current NBA game, man, because I get mixed reviews on this all the time. Me personally, it's cool. It's not as great as some people will sell you on. It's not as bad as some people will tell you. To me, I'm kind of like in the middle. I'm not a big fan of, to me, people always say, oh, the mid range game is dying. I'm not going to go that far because when you look at the best scorers in the league, KD, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Jason Tatum, DeMar
Yeah,
DeRozan, and the list goes on, Devin Booker, Bradley
yeah.
Beal. You see these guys are still taking a mid range shot. I've been noticing is that to me the fast break game is dying. Like the way the
Mm,
proper fast break to me is dying. Like I've seen guys they'll have 3-on-1 opportunities and they'll go run to the corner three and take the corner three. To me, I'm like, if
yeah.
I'm a coach, I'm like, bro, forget the stats, the analytics, whatever the case, bro. Go get the easy layup. You have an opportunity to go get an easy two. Take the easy two every single time, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of my take on it. But I just want to get your overall opinion because you've been around a little bit. Not calling you old, nothing like that, but just saying
No,
you've seen the ways of the NBA game change a whole bunch of different times. So just talk to me about how the game is right now compared to the past few years.
man, I'm with you, bro. Like, I'm still adjusting to this new style in NBA. The mid range game, I definitely disagree with that. I believe it's still what's saving, the
Man,
NBA and basketball as we know it, right? So, I mean, Steph, like you mentioned, Steph, DeMar DeRozan, KD, Kyrie, the list goes on of players who got that mid range shot in a bag. I mean, and it's fluent. That's
yep,
their bread and butter. They go to it. We talked about D Wade. I mean, that's where he lived at was the mid-range game. LeBron James' game became greater when he developed that mid-range game as well.
right,
So Melo, one of my favorite players ever of all time, he was a mid-range killer. So man, the NBA. One thing I've had to learn, I believe it's in a great space, right? Let me start. I believe it's in a great space because it it it's identifying to who it wants to identify to. The game is growing, it's becoming more global. We see international players, man, is taking over, man, a lot of the white European players. I mean, the white American born players, right? You
yep,
see more European international players than you do white American born players now in the NBA. So back from when David Stern, used Michael Jordan to go global to build the NBA game. And we look at that, 30 years later, it's worked. We got some of the best players in the world in the NBA. That's international players from Giannis to Joker to Luka to Embiid, right? So it's definitely working. The game is global and everyone is catching up with America, right? With the talent, the skill set. So I feel it's in a great place because it's become more global. Is it the basketball that we grew up watching? No, it's far from that. Like you said, you got the fast break. I didn't even realize that till you started talking about that. And it's true. The fast break definitely isn't ran like it once, how we was taught to run the fast break. Now everybody's running to the short corner, running to a spot,
mm-hmm,
waiting for the pass, so it's like the fast break, the best shot is to get to the rim. Now it's go to the corner, go to your spot and wait for the pass, so those things, the fundamentals is still somewhat there depending on the players that we're looking at, but the players that super fundamentally sound are the best players in the league. And that's something I feel will never change. As long as you're fundamentally sound, you're going to separate yourself from everybody else. And then when you add the skill set, you're really going to separate yourself from everybody else. The fundamentals of basketball will never change. They travel just as much as your skill set do. Um, the NBA, I feel, is going through a culture crisis. It's going through an identity crisis as well. You got Adam Silver, who's trying to appease to the players as well as to the ownership group or governors, as they call them now. And you got like a lot of the old blood when it comes to the GMs, the coaches. And now we're seeing a lot of players that we grew up watching and idolizing, becoming head coaches and things now. And that's how I feel it should be. So from that standpoint, I feel that the NBA is going to be good. It's going to be great. It's because the players that we saw grow up, they from that era of where they was taught basketball. So they're going to teach it how they know it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and these players, they're going to demand a respect from the players that's playing now. And the players that's playing now, they know these guys. They can look up on YouTube and see these guys play. So I feel the NBA is great. It's in a great place. I'm getting more adjusted to it. I'm one of them guys that's, man, go back to the old way. Leave things alone. It was fine. But um, change is good if it's done right. So I'm going to continue supporting, continue watching, and hope it keeps growing.
No, I completely agree. And to that one point when it comes to the Euro players, like we got to be more accepting of that. When I say we, I say us as Americans, because I notice a lot of people are kind of like, oh, who's the next American great guy? Like, bro, we're always going to have one. Best believe Anthony Edwards is on his way. Cade Cunningham is on his way. It's always
Yep.
somebody on the way, right? A lot of people are in love with Cooper Flag right now, whatever that may be. So to me, I'm not too worried about that. But as a basketball fan, as a basketball purist like we are, it's great to just see the game grow on an international scale. Like in football, you can't say that. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
You see some Australians come over just to be punters and stuff, but it's not nothing deeper now. You see it Canadian leagues, but it's not stretching outside of North America like that. Basketball, you can literally crumple up a piece of paper and shoot into a trash can anywhere on earth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And kids
Yes.
is shooting fadeaway shots. RP Kobe saying, Kobe every day.
Kobe,
So
man.
exactly. So the game, we as Americans, we just have to be more accepting of it, get into that scale. So, to me, it's a beautiful thing. Like I'm not even a big Nikola Jokic fan, but I respect his greatness, right? He's something we honestly haven't really seen before. We can make some comparisons, but he's a different breed. And B, same thing, like you mentioned, Luka came into the league killing. So
Yep.
I'm never mad at it. And actually, it's crazy. Team USA actually plays against Slovenia today in a couple hours. So I'm gonna definitely be tuned into that for sure. But we just got to be more accepting of it, man. But my last
Yep.
question for you, you already know what it is. I got to get your starting five of the best Big Ten players that you've seen personally in your lifetime. I got to
Ooh,
get
man, if that ain't a put you on the spot question, I don't know what it is.
that's the
But
point, man.
man, I'm blessed to be able to have seen, watch, and witness some great basketball, man, in the Big Ten. So many great players, a long list of players, man. But my top five personal favorite, I'm going to your favorite school, man, to Michigan State, man. Steve Smith. I've been a Sparty fan, since learning about basketball and Magic Johnson going there and winning the national championship. Shout out to Magic. RIP to Jub, the Bulldog, Heathcote, the coach that helped put Michigan State on the map, no doubt about it. Uh, but Steve Smith, man, he's from Detroit. We talked about Detroit players and just learning about him as a youngster, man, and just being that tall, being that big, being able to shoot, being able to play the point guard position. He just reminded me of Magic, with his height dimensions and everything like that. So starting off definitely with Steve Smith, man. Next, big dog, man. Glenn Robinson, big dog, man. Big dog Robinson, man. He probably the best player to ever come out of the Big Ten, offensive player to ever come out of the Big Ten. I mean, it was nothing Big Dog couldn't do. Get to a spot, pull up, everything. He had a complete package, man. When it came to an offensive player, man, there was no one like him that I've been able to watch in the Big Ten. Scooney Penn, man. A lot of people may not remember Scooney Penn, but man, Scooney Penn was a favorite of mine, man. Him and Michael Redd at Ohio State, man, had some many great games and great times together. He didn't make he made it, but he didn't stay into the league, unfortunately. But that's the case for a lot of people, man. But I'm definitely gonna rock with Scooney Penn as well. I got to give some love to the Badgers, no doubt. I'm going Michael Finley, man.
Oh yeah.
Mike Finley is probably the greatest Badger ever to play to me. He was just different, man. He pretty much opened up the door for the national recruits to want to come to Wisconsin. Like I said, we had Wes Matthews Sr. before. I believe he came from like Connecticut, somewhere out east. But Michael Finley was just different. I believe he was the first McDonald's All-American to go to Wisconsin. You know, he's from Chicago. You know, so he was just different, man, just special, and he just fit the mold of Wisconsin. You know, a blue collar state. He was a blue collar hard worker, gave it to you on offense and defense. So definitely Michael Finley. Um, Fourth, I'm going to go Vashawn Leonard, man. Vashawn Leonard was just different, man. Loved his shooting, man. Loved his calmness. Loved just how he played basketball. You know, like you talk about the state of Minnesota, man. So many good ball players to come from out of Minnesota. So I would definitely put Vashawn Leonard on that list as well. And fifth, man, I got to go to Chris Webber, man. The whole Fab Five. My oldest son is named after Jalen Rose, you know. So I've definitely got to give Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Chris Webber, Jimmy Smith, Ray King. I got to give them all, or Jimmy King. I got to give them all, you know, credit because they pretty much made me want to play basketball besides like Jordan, Isaiah, and Magic and stuff, right? So, man, the Fab Five was special to be able to watch them. But out of that group, I'm going to take Chris Webber because I definitely need a big man in this big five. So I'm going to take Chris Webber out of that group. C. Webb was special, man. Outside of Derek Coleman, he was probably that next real stretch power forward, that stretch forward, could do it all, bring the ball up, rebound, pass, great passer, you know, pass people open, could shoot mid-range game, hook, complete player, had everything, right? So those would definitely be my five. Steve Smith, Scooney Penn, Big Dog, Vashawn Leonard. That's more than five, ain't it, though? Big Dog. I'll take Scooney Penn off, man. I'll take Scooney off. I'll say Steve Smith, Big Dog, Vashawn, Michael Finley, and Chris Webber.
That's a hell of a five right there, man. I gotta definitely do my homework on some of them, but that five is going crazy. I wish I was old enough to have seen Smitty, because I every time somebody talks to him about me or talks to me about him, they always tell me like he was different, and I already knew what he was in the league too, so I couldn't even imagine what he was like in college, man. But
special, man, just special, just yeah. Go back to film, it's there, and you would say, yeah, I see why. You know, he went to Michigan State. I see why he became one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. I see why Greg Popovich brought him around at the end of his career just for his experience and stuff like that, man. Smitty was that. And, you know, one of the few players to have his own signature move in the NBA, man, it's Smitty. Yeah. So Steve Smith was definitely that business, man. No doubt about it. Probably my favorite Big Ten player ever, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Great five. I appreciate that answer, man. That's a great five. But man, I appreciate you for sure, man. This has been a pleasure and an honor. I definitely got to get you back because this was a hell of a conversation. Please just, you know, tag or list off your socials, you know, let the people know where they can find you, US Elite, all that. And yeah, man.
For sure. First and foremost, thank you again for this opportunity to join the Kevoo Bandzz Hoop Podcast. This, man, has definitely been long overdue and something I've been excited about doing. So when you reached out and said, bro, let's do it, it was no question, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Salute, man. You are definitely a great basketball mind, great individual, you know. So people pay attention to you. They're going to get great insight about life besides sports, man. So keep doing what you're doing first and foremost.
Appreciate that.
No doubt about it. You can find me on all social media sites at _ Melo Williams, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I really don't be on Facebook. Twitter, IG would be the best way to follow me and everything that I have going on, along with US Elite and Team NBS Media. Please follow US Elite Basketball on all social media sites, Twitter, IG, Facebook, US Elite B-Ball. And Team NBS Media as well on all social media sites at Team NBS Media. Yeah, and man, Jaeden Mustaf will be making this college decision September 12th. He's definitely one of the future players out of college, potential NBA player. His 6 final schools is Georgia Tech, Indiana, Maryland, Florida State, Arkansas, and NC State. Man, so Shout out to bro, man. Shout out to Jaeden Mustaf, man, and everybody that's supporting me, US Elite Basketball, Jaeden Mustaf, you, man, and just keep being great people out there in this world.
Yeah, man. Again, I appreciate y'all. As always, this has been another episode of the Kevoo Bandzz Hoops podcast, man. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, and share. Again, this was special episode 700. We're going to do 700 more for sure. We're not letting up no time soon, man. Hopefully, all y'all have a great weekend, a great upcoming week. Enjoy yourselves. Get off y'all feet, man. Get some rest, get some relaxation. Don't overdrive yourself too crazy. And y'all stay safe out there, man. As always, peace, love, and blessings. Gone.
Peace.